With $10,000 to the winner of our last GNCC in West Virginia, Nate Canny and Jesse Robinson put on a battle to the end before Canny emerged with his first victory of the year. Now he's headed to his home state race at Unadilla. Can Nate Dogg make it 2 straight on his home track?
Playing in the dirt, face full of mud, sacrificing flesh and blood. Playing in the dirt, digging in the ground. All I'm asking you, where you gonna be when it all goes down, 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 down?
We're at the legendary Unadilla Valley Sports Center in New Berlin, New York, for round 10 of the Can-Am Grand National Cross Country Series. Jason Wygant here, your host of Racer TV. Today's facts: we're going to race on a 10-mile track for 3 hours. Over 1,600 riders competing today, and only 2 are battling for the GNCC title, and Krista Shaw has them.
Thanks, Jason. Josh, you've had a really good season so far, but I know you haven't finished quite where you wanted to these last couple of races. Are you ready to get back out there and prove to everybody how bad you want this championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long break. 10 weeks is too long to stop racing, so I would have been happy to finish these last 4 off after snowshoe, but that's how it goes. And yeah, I'm ready to go this weekend and for the last 4 races and get the job done and win that championship.
Charlie, you've had a pretty solid season so far. You're second in points. Are you feeling any pressure to get any more wins these last couple of races?
I would say just pressure from myself. I'd like to get a couple more for the season's over. We have 4 more, so this track's usually pretty tough with lappers, Unadilla, so I think it's going to be kind of get around them quick. It's going to be an important race. I think this one is, so I'm really looking forward to a good finish.
All right, thanks, Krista. Down on the starting line, don't forget row 2, XC2. They run on 250cc bikes, but at our last race, Jesse Robinson from that second group nearly won the overall. And here on row 1, you got Strang on the number 2. He's got the white background on his number plate because he is your series points leader. Let's go racing. Battling and battling. Whoa, we almost had an upset special. Eric Bailey has grabbed the MotorcycleUSA.com Whole Shot Award, but in second, the man they call Batman, Ben Bowens, who comes out to this race every year with nothing more than the Batman symbol for a front number. There you see him on the right. Pulled the whole shot here last year, nearly did it again. And look at this pack at Unadilla. A lot of riders, a lot of spectators. And the weather has not even been that bad, but it's just enough to cause these big mud bogs. These guys are scrambling. Now into the lead, it is Jimmy Jarrett on the Geico JG Racing Kawasaki. Always gets good starts. Bailey up to the number 2 spot. Here is Batman Ben Bowens in 3rd. Glenn Carney 4th. And Mike Lafferty, the multi-time Enduro champ here on the Husaberg, coming by. Good to see Lafferty back in the races. Then we see it was a Mullins, Strang, there's Barry Hawk, Paul Whibley, our series champ, Corey Buttrick, Nate Canny, and Jake Korn. Haven't seen much of Jake this year. Let's go back for the XC2 row. Now, it's worth noting that Jason Thomas has switched from a Yamaha to a Husqvarna, and he almost grabbed the whole shot. Not quite. It's going to go to Morgan Moss on the Andrews Racing Monster Energy Yamaha. He's actually still teammates with Jason Thomas, but Thomas no longer on a Yamaha. He is on the Husky. And speaking of, look at that. He was down, and he is dead last through the first turn. Jarrett continues to lead. We are into the woods, and look at the elevation change here at Unadilla. This motocross track is famous for the uphills and downhills. Same for the woods. Lafferty, Carney, Bailey, Bowens, and the rest of the field slicing their way through it. You can see how many lines there are out here. Really easy to make passes on this track. Later in the race, it'll get more difficult. We'll have a lot of lap traffic. And there's Josh Strang. Bad start. Just took a big face full of roost. And Mullins, who we talked about at the top of the show, that's the guy that he's got to beat for series points. He's way out in front of him. This is fun to watch, these uphills. There is Caleb Russell leading the XC2 class. So he's got the drop on everyone in that division. Just saw Scotty Watkins come through next on the Geico Kawasaki. He is second in that group. And here are a couple of 2-strokes coming by. The 2-strokes are legal in XC2. You just got to run a 250 two-stroke going forward. And so far, Russell, oh, and Thomas is down again. Wow, he was trying to make up ground. And that's so hard to get started on these big hills. But UKJT was able to not lose too much ground. Now we're onto the motocross track and the famous gravity cavity. You see they put a little chicane in there. You cannot practice or pre-run a GNCC race, and they don't want people to launch all the way to the bottom of what is essentially a blind jump. So we slow them down at the beginning, but not at the end. You see some of these riders scrubbing speed up over the top. Look at this pack. Great racing here in New York. Racer TV is brought to you by Can-Am and by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Well, the great thing about Can-Am Grand National Cross Country Racing, as we said today, 1,600 riders competing at Unadilla, and at every event, got a variety of classes for both bikes and ATVs, youth riders, women, old guys, and yes, even utility four-wheel drive machines. So no matter what you have in the garage, come out and join us for a GNCC race. See what you've got. It's woods riding. You're used to it. Check out the upcoming schedule. 2 races remain. We'll be in Ohio for the ITP Powerline Park GNCC and the grand finale, the Amsoil Ironman Classic, just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. But today we're racing in New York, and Jimmy Jarrett, who has had a terrible season with some injuries, is leading the way. Mike Lafferty, Thad Duvall, and Glenn Carney, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and they're keeping the heat on Jarrett. Rest of the field rolling through. There's Chris Bach right behind Charlie Mullins. Bach, a rookie this year in the pro class, but he's done such a great job. There's Thad Duvall, now riding on the Yamaha YZ450F. He and Paul Whitley had been running WRs. That's Yamaha's off-road bike. They switched to the motocross bike now after our summer break. They've had some time to dial in the new machine, see if it helps them today. A little bit further back, the KTMs of Canny and Buttrick. And Barry Hawk comes through. There's Josh Strang, our series points leader, way back early today. Like we said, look how much room to move that you have as Duvall has gotten around Lafferty for 2nd. There is Mullins now has gotten around Carney, so plenty of places to make passes. And I can't stress enough how bad lap traffic is going to be later in the day. Canny just came through. He won our last race in West Virginia. He has won this race before, and he is from upstate New York, so he's got a lot on his side, except for the start. He's got to make up ground. Jarrett leads him through the pits for the first time today, then Duvall, then Lafferty. Awesome to see Junior Lafferty back in the GNCC Tour and running up front. You got to watch out for this guy. Charlie Mullins has won 3 races already this year. He's where he wants to be, way in front of Josh Strang. It's looking good early for Mullins to pick up some points. Now here's Canny. He will let it all hang out. He's not going to be happy right now outside of the top 5. There's Buttrick, and it looks like Strang beginning to move up. He has put Barry Hawk behind him. And I think the last couple of rounds we have seen a more calculated Josh Strang riding for points, trying to protect his lead. Battle tightening up between Jarrett, Duvall, and Lafferty. Lafferty representing well on the Husaberg, and Hot Rod Mullins trying to make up ground on those riders. Here's your next pack. Carney and Bach. Carney's got a 310 kit now on his 250 Husky. Back to the big uphill, and Duvall is all over Jarrett. Lafferty's not going anywhere. Mullins and Bach has gotten around Carney. And look out, here comes the KTM duo of Canny and Buttrick. Great racing. There's something about this track at Unadilla that always leads to these battles early. You see Strang come through next. It's kind of old school GNCC. Everyone just jockeying for position, going back and forth in the first few laps. This will be a battle of attrition. We'll start out with these 6 or 7 rider packs, then it'll be 4 or 5 riders going for the lead. We watch Russell still leading XC2. And he's got Jesse Robinson right behind him, and the wild man here, Jason Thomas, is back up to 3rd. Remember, he had crashed twice early in this race. not letting that deter him. Anyway, I was saying, you see how close these riders are for the lead. You're going to lose riders every couple of laps, and I guarantee you late in the race it'll be maybe 3 or 4 at best battling it out. And that's what it's all about in these 3-hour races, trying to put yourself in position to really go for it on the last 2 laps, and especially the last lap. So we'll see who survives out of this group. See Strang letting it all hang out here on the motocross track. He wants to get up in that pack and put himself in position to score big points today. A bit further back, here's your XC2 battle, and Thomas has caught Russell. Jason Thomas on fire. Russell looks over his shoulder. I don't know if he knows that Thomas was down early, but these 2 guys are first and second in points in this class. This battle is far from over. Racer TV is brought to you by Can-Am and by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. The 33-year-old veteran Jimmy Jarrett leading the way. The 20-year-old kid, Bad Thad Duvall, in second. Mike Lafferty third. Charlie Mullins fourth. That's your early running order here at the Can-Am Unadilla GNCC in upstate New York. Watch out for Nate Canny, though. The home state boy is on the move. Jason Thomas taking the lead now from Caleb Russell in XC2. Thomas is on a roll. Back onto the famous Unadilla motocross track we go, and Jarrett under intense pressure now from Duvall. Amazing riding for Jarrett today. Broke his shoulder at round 2 of the series in Georgia, and it has been a tough season for him since. I've not seen him lead laps so far this year, but he is on it now. And he still leads Duvall as we're back into the woods. Lafferty hanging tough in third. Mullins, Bach, Canny. You got to watch for Canny on this track. He has pulled this position several times. Pretty good start. And then when he really gets rolling on this terrain, he really gets rolling. And now finally we hit lap traffic for the first time today. So many riders entered in this race, and only a 10-mile track to spread them out. That is going to be a massive factor as Canny has gotten around Bach. Bach's actually been spending some time up here in New York training and riding with Canny, and they're pretty comfortable with each other out on the track. So they might hook up and make some moves, and it looks like they are. Canny and Bach, the 2 KTM riders, they've got the leaders in sight. And look at this battle in XC2. Thomas, Russell, Watkins. It's great racing. Let's go to the Rocky Mountain Spotlight.
Hey guys, this is Chris Meadows. I run the 250A, and this week's Rocky Mountain Spotlight is Tusk First Line Oil Filters.
All right, thanks, Chris. Let's check out those oil filters. They retail from $2.99 to $5.99. They're constructed with high-quality metal, rubber, and paper materials. The technologically advanced filter paper allows maximum filtration and flow to prolong engine life. Meets the demands of today's high-performance 4-stroke engines and includes a free maintenance decal that you can put on your crossbar pad, fender, or fork tube. Chris, where do you get it?
For more information and to purchase the Tusk First Line Oil Filters, visit RockyMountainATVMC.com.
Chris is last year's top youth rider in the GNCC Tour. Look at this race. In the pro class, Nate Canny putting the pressure on Jimmy Jarrett. There's Thad Duvall in third. Desperately not wanting lap riders stuck between him. And where did Josh Strang come from? He is in front of Carney, he's in front of Bach, and most importantly, he's in front of Mullins. And in XC2, weaving through the traffic, Jason Thomas is now in front of Barry Hawk, so he has put some time between himself and these guys, Watkins and Russell. Those kids are fun to watch. They let it all hang out. Back onto the motocross track. Jarrett leading Canny, and Canny has got to be feeling it right now. He's passed about 5 riders to get to this position. How long can Jarrett hang on? He has had trouble with endurance this year because the shoulder gives out. This is a rough track. You get a little break here on the moto section, but in the woods, you're going to be pounding it, especially with Canny all over you. And they have pulled away from Duvall. And it should be Strang next, and it is. So good job by Strang to minimize the damage of the bad start. But he's got to put the hammer down to try to get into the top 3. Duvall in third is no slouch. He's not going to make it easy on Strang. And it's Carney who's put the Husky back in front of Bach on the KTM. And into the woods, Nate Canny has grabbed the lead from Jimmy Jarrett. Now let's see if Jarrett can hang with him. It's just a question of Jarrett's shoulder strength. That's what this whole deal might revolve around. If he's 100% after the little break we had over the summer, he could run with Canny. If not, Canny's going to win this thing. Duval is in third. He's got Russell now behind him and Thomas behind Russell, and now everyone is stuck behind traffic, and that is Strang there. So Strang has lost some ground somewhere along the way. Russell, Watkins, and Thomas have made up huge time coming from row 2. Could they run for the overall win today? And can Jarrett hang with Canny? So many questions. We'll answer them when we get back. Racer TV is brought to you by Can-Am and by Rocky Mountain ATDMC. Nate Canny leads the way here at Unadilla. Jason Wygant giving you the call on Racer TV. Canny has pulled away a bit from Jimmy Jarrett. If you're Jarrett, you're happy to just be in a podium position. That team actually won the championship last year with Paul Whibley, but Whibley left to go to Yamaha. Whibley has struggled. The team has struggled. Jarrett's been injured. So they've got to be happy to at least be back in contention today. But what do you do with Nate Canny? Well, wait a minute. Jarrett has actually closed back up. Just when it looked like Canny was going to just hammer everyone, Jarrett has gotten back into contention. He's got to get around these lap riders, and he does. So a veteran out of Southern Ohio keeping Canny honest. And look at this battle. Bach right in front of Duval now. So Bach up to third, Duval fourth, and Josh Strang, what was he going, 60 miles an hour through that section there in fifth? He's desperate to make up points. Now we have a report that Mullins has crashed and damaged his throttle. He's gotten back into the pits and made a repair, but he has lost a lot of ground. So he is in 16th place. Huge opportunity for Strang to make up points today. White flag, last lap. Nate Canny leads, Jimmy Jarrett second, and the home state fans have to feel that it's all heading in the direction of the 116. You see some people getting photos of it out here, but Jarrett is not letting him go. Bach up to third, no goggles, but also no Thad Duval. You'll make that trade. You don't want Bad Thad keeping the heat on you. Will this be a two-horse fight? Does Jarrett have what it takes to stay with Canny right to the end? And in fact, Jimmy Jarrett has taken the lead. And what has happened to Canny? We hear Canny was pressing the pace and ran into a lap rider and crashed. There he is. He's got a lot of ground to make up, and this is the last lap. Is there enough time? Woo, he's going to try it. I don't know if he's got enough time, though, to get back to the number 4 and get the lead back. Meanwhile, if you're Jarrett, where's your conditioning? Where's the shoulder strength? Canny apparently has cut this lead about in half, as you can see. But is time on Jimmy Jarrett's side? And by the way, Jimmy Jarrett has only won one GNCC ever, and it was in the year 2000. And he's headed for daylight. Jimmy Jarrett wins at Unadilla, a huge upset. Canny finishes second. One big crash in the last lap cost him that one. And Chris Bach, hard fought, great racing today. He's going to end up third. He's got to be proud. Put that support Privateer KTM up on the box. Let's go to Victory Lane.
Chris, I know you've been up here training in New York for a little while with Nate. I think it paid off today.
It did. It really did. 2 weeks up here riding rocks and roots and just nasty terrain, and it definitely paid off big today when the track got slippery in the rain, and you know, my bike just worked awesome. I knew what I needed to do to make the bike perform, and we got up here on the podium.
Here's the results. Nice job by Mullins to get back into the top 10, but Strang scores 4th. He'll extend the points lead. Let's talk to the runner-up, Nate Dogg.
Nate, I think you definitely had an advantage today being from New York. Tell us how your race went.
It went pretty good. I mean, I definitely had local knowledge, and for that I was able to ride much more patient. And I got a bad start, and I was never in a rush, and it was never really a problem. So, I slowly moved up, and once I got into the lead, I just kind of took control and kind of raced the way I wanted to race. And it wasn't long before it was just Jimmy and I, and that was nice because Jimmy and I were able to ride really aggressively without worrying about dirty moves. And and that's nice to ride aggressively, but you don't want to have to worry about dirty moves. So Jimmy and I had a really good race, and unfortunately I blew it on the last lap. I crashed all by myself, just under pressure, trying to get around lappers quicker. And but anyway, Jimmy rode a good race, and he he's been working at this a long time, so I'm happy for him to get the win. And I just have to go live with myself for 2 weeks in a second.
Nice, Nate. And Caleb Russell edges Thomas. It was right down to the wire. They even had words at the end. Let's go down to victory lane with Jimmy Jarrett.
Jimmy, it's been a really long time since we've seen you up on the podium. I know you've been struggling a little bit with some injuries. Tell us how your race went today.
It was good. I actually got a good start for once in a long time, and I just went my own pace for the few laps, and then Nate caught me, and he picked it up, and I picked it up, and then I knew it was going to come down to me and him, and I haven't been riding that much. I've been trying to let my shoulders heal, and I didn't know how I was going to do it the last hour, but the adrenaline was going. Nate and I was having an awesome race, and it was going to come down to the end, and luckily for me, he had a little tip over, and I was able to get by him, and then just pinned it to the end, and here I am.
Check out the race recap. Man, is that awesome to see Jimmy Jarrett get the win. Eric Bailey had the whole shot, and Jarrett quickly took the lead by the time we're on the motocross track. What great racing today. Thad Duvall, Mike Lafferty, Josh Strang, Charlie Mullins, Glenn Carney, Chris Bach, they were all battling for the lead early. Bach was eventually able to get around Duvall to take the podium spot away. Strang putting pressure on Duvall down the stretch. The battle for the lead. Canny crashed in the last lap. Jarrett takes the lead and the win for the first time in 10 years. Canny finishes second. Bach holds on for third. And valuable championship points. Last corner, Strang able to make the move on Duvall to take fourth. Caleb Russell wins a close one in XC2 over Jason Thomas. You got to be happy, though, for Jimmy Jarrett. For Krista Shaw, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching.